Imagine stepping into a world where the stories you love come to life like never before, where every corner holds a new adventure, every ride thrills your senses, and the magic feels bigger, bolder, and more epic. We just returned home from an exclusive preview of Universal's Epic Universe, and let me tell you, it's every bit as incredible as the buzz. In today's episode, we're diving deep into what makes this new world a vacation game changer in Orlando. And while you'll want to be among the first to experience the magic, ready to explore the future of fun? Let's go.
Ready for your fast pass to unforgettable adventures? Welcome to Talk Travel to Me. Featuring our Mickey Guru Travel Company expert travel advisors, this podcast will guide you in traveling with more ease, confidence, and a sprinkle of magic. Tune in for unique insights, insider info, tips, and personal travel stories that'll transform your journeys into exhilarating moments and lifelong memories. Fasten your seatbelt, grab your passport, let's embark, and let's talk travel.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode. I'm Christy Willette, and today I'm thrilled to share something truly special. We've just returned from an exclusive preview of Universal's brand new Epic Universe, and it was an absolute game changer. But I wasn't alone on this adventure. I brought along three amazing travel advisors who know how to turn vacations into unforgettable experiences. Shalon Still, Sammy Faye, and Lacey Flake. Together, we're going to take you behind the scenes, show you what makes Epic Universe so epic, because that really was the entire word for it, and share insider insights you won't want to miss. So buckle up because this episode is your front row ticket to the future of fun.
Hi, I'm Shalon Still. I've been a travel agent with Mickey Guru Travel Company for the past 2 years, and I was so excited to join this epic preview because Universal was actually one of my first loves and where I had my very first big kid roller coaster experience. So I was very excited to join this trip and check out some amazing new rides.
Hey everybody, I'm CME, a travel advisor with Mickey Guru for the last, I don't know, I think over 6 months now. It's been a quick 6 months, but it's been so fun. I was so excited and humbled to be able to go experience this opening. I love roller coasters and I didn't think anything could top Velocicoaster, but I was very wrong.
Hey everybody, I'm Lacey Flake, 2-year Mickey Guru travel agent and self-proclaimed Universal Orlando addict. So to say I was excited to be invited to see Epic Universe is an understatement.
Yeah, we actually had, I think, 5 days notice between the invite and when we showed up. So, we really pulled it together and we had
Yeah.
an awesome time. For those that may not be aware, Epic Universe is the third theme park at Universal Orlando Resort, and it officially opens on May 22nd. It's located about 15-ish minutes south of the main campus, where you'll find Universal Studios Florida, Universal Islands of Adventure, Volcano Bay, City Walk, and the 10 other on-site resorts. Epic Universe has 5 distinct magical lands: Celestial Park, Super Nintendo World, Ministry of Magic, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Although with the new park, we have a new signature hotel, Helios Grand Hotel. And because there's just so much to cover, we're actually going to split this epic adventure into 2 episodes. We're going to get started with the brand new Universal Helios Grand Hotel, which we were lucky enough to stay at opening day. We're going to tell you all about our experience, but we'd like to remind everyone that because our trip literally started at the moment the hotel opened, we did hit some bumps. Things we hope to see improve as they get their feet under them, but we're going to share our honest experiences here: the good, bad, and the ugly.
Let's talk about starting off the trip because that lift ride, Godspeed. For those of you that are going anytime in the near future, patience is key because these poor Lyft and Uber drivers do not have the correct address populated into their systems. And with all the construction going on in Florida, we had like a special preview of Mario Kart. Like our car just kept turning in circles and in circles. We went down the wrong way a couple times. We were at Lockheed Martin twice. Like we had an epic adventure before the epic adventure actually really started. So be very patient. You may need to take your phones out and help your Uber or Lyft driver navigate but hopefully, in the near future, they'll have that figured out. We also had no idea that the hotel wasn't opening until noon. I'm not sure if we missed the memo or who got the memo, if anybody got one at all. But we showed up and there was a line going down the sidewalk. And in my head, I was like, oh, like that's cool. They're just like trying to let us in one by one. Nope, we were rope dropping a hotel opening. And I'm the rope drop queen. And I was so excited that this was something I could check off my bucket list because I've never rope dropped a hotel opening before. But the one part that was kind of rough was we were out in the sun. There was no shade. So when you just get off an airplane, you don't really have your sunscreen handy. You don't have any of the right equipment to make sure, you don't fry your face off. So that was a little interesting. And we were surrounded by a bunch of influencers running around, which was surreal for me. I felt like I was not where I was supposed to be. I was like, Annie M, Annie M, this isn't Kansas anymore. Um, but it was a lot of fun and just a cool experience to be able to say that I rope dropped a hotel opening.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I will say I've been to grand openings that Disney has had for hotels. Um, and Universal does it better. I won't say that often for a lot of things, but there was no band, there was no harpist, there was no drinks at the Riviera when I got there at the opening day. So that was cool. I will say it was a little awkward though when we finally got to go into the hotel. I was in the first group. I was like in the front of that group that went in at that time. They were holding people back, kind of. And as we walked in, the entire lobby was full of people cheering and clapping. They were all people that worked for Lowe's and they were all very excited. And I was embarrassed. I like didn't know what to do with my face. I didn't know where to look. And Sammy was recording and my daughter was with us and she was recording. And I was like, I couldn't look at them. So I was like just walking through the crowd. It was crazy. But they had a beautiful harpist and she was playing all of like the Universal movie hits. So she was playing like E.T. and a lot of the Harry Potter like themes, things like that. It was really cool. I will say, like you mentioned the influencers. I know a couple, but I don't know most. And there were people like running around like, oh my goodness, I just saw whoever. And I was like, I never seen that person in my life. And luckily when Lacey came to join us, she did know who most of these people were, so she was like whispering in our ears and stuff. But I had no idea who most of them were. But
There were so many, and I kind of expected to see a few, but not that many. Like that was wild.
well, and later in the trip, one of our agents that was at home, Michelle, hi Michelle, she was like, "You guys are in the Super Enthused blog," and I was like, "What?" So that was kind of cool. We got to have our little 15 minutes of fame walking around behind that, which was fun. Um, but it was definitely cool. The management was there at the hotel, and I will say, like, one thing I was really impressed at Helios is the management that was around constantly. And it was chaos. We'll talk about that as we go, but they were there, they were friendly, they were like engaging, and it was great. I really liked that part of it. The vibe couldn't be beat.
And once we got past the beautiful lobby and the grand events that were going on there, we got to go to our third floor Park View hotel room, which was, I think we were all really excited, obviously, to see this room, but none of us were quite prepared for what we were going to see when we opened that curtain.
Hmm.
So the room itself, beautiful. The decorations were beautiful, very modern, very comfortable and cozy. The bathroom was a nice size, not as big as some, not as big as honestly any of us expected it to be for a signature resort, but still, very comfortable. Um, they did bring a rollaway bed for us since we had a fifth person in the room, which was very nice and convenient. They brought it up for us. We didn't even know when they were coming. We were actually having dinner and we came back to the room and the bed had been delivered, which was a nice surprise. But that view, that theme park view was just, I mean, it brought some of us to tears, had some of us holding our chest. It
Hmm.
was absolutely amazing because that was kind of our first glimpse of Epic Universe before we got to actually step foot in, and just been able to see little snippets of like Mario Land over here and the Ministry of Magic World, and just knowing what was in store for us, and we were able to see it right there from our window was just unreal. And then nighttime came, and it was even more beautiful that night. We were able to see all the lights and the rides were running, and she was just in all her glory.
Oh,
Gorgeous.
I love seeing that first thing in the morning too, like waking up in the
Yes.
sunrise and you see a few of the maintenance people working in the park. It was just like, ah, that's what awaits us today.
And the
it
window
was,
was huge. So it wasn't just a very small glimpse that you got. It was like panoramic
Like floor to
almost.
ceiling, basically. Yeah.
Yes, and almost the whole length of the room as well, like the width of the room.
and I think the
So
rest, we'd all seen the theme park view rooms at Disney. So as we were standing there looking at it, we were all kind of looking at each other like, this is a theme park view room because it's basically in the theme park.
yeah.
You're not looking across the lake at like a castle, like way in the distance. You were like, I could almost touch it. It was
Hmm.
amazing.
It was theme park view done right.
Hmm.
Perfect.
And then for our last night, we moved into a different room, and the theme park view was lacking. We really technically weren't in a theme park view category, I don't believe, but we could see some of the backside of the Ministry of Magic. But the reason we booked this room because it was one of the special suites that they have, and it was the How to Train Your Dragon Kids Suite, which I was over the moon excited to see because I love the movie franchise and I'm a big kid at heart. So absolutely love it. And I really love the way that that suite was laid out because you walk in and you do have like a little living sitting area with a TV, the refrigerator, coffee maker. There's actually a microwave too in there, which was a nice bonus that the other rooms didn't have. And they did have a couch, which was a pull-out, so you could sleep somebody on that because the room can sleep four adults and one child. So essentially, the child would probably sleep on that because it's probably not the most comfortable. Um, but then you also have the king room and a nice, very spacious bathroom with two sinks, which was nice. I did appreciate the having the two vanity sink area, a lot of space, and a huge shower area. I do believe it was partially accessible as well. There was quite a few hand grab bars, but again, nothing else. It was still a tub that you would have to step up and over. But they do have accessible rooms that you can book on their website. And then, of course, the best part of that suite was the kids' suite with the How to Train Your Dragon. I had two twin beds, and they were in like the dragon houses, which was cool. And each one was like a little bit different. And then on the wall, it had Toothless and his family. Because if you watch the other movies, you know, he gets a family later on, which was really cute. And some just really cool theming. And the nice thing was the beds were like a full-size twin bed, and I slept in one of them and super comfy. So I mean, not just for kids, adults can easily fit into those rooms. And I think it's really great. And you can book them for theme park view. I would highly recommend if you're going to splurge and get that suite, also splurge and get the theme park view so that when you wake up, you have that same view that we had in our two queen every morning and evening because it's just absolutely worth it.
I've never been somebody that really cares too much about a view, but going from the view of Epic being literally at your window and then going to a dirt view and a parking lot view was kind of a letdown. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
But I loved that room. I think we could have used it when all five of us were there because the two sinks was fabulous. Like there was plenty of room to get ready. Um, but like we said, they only allow, was it three
For
adults,
adult,
four adults and one kid.
one kid. Yeah.
So it wasn't going to work out, but I loved it. I thought it was a great use of space. They also gave us a bottle of wine, which I don't know if that is typical in those suites, but
Wondering the
uh,
same thing. And it was pretty good. Had I not been flying it, super early the next day, I probably would have had more of the wine, but I did have a glass.
all right, let's talk about the food situation at the hotel. This is where we had a little bit of issues sprinkled throughout our stay. So let's get into that a little bit.
So the first food encounter that we had was the full service table restaurant inside the hotel lobby called Flora Taverna. I guess that's how you pronounce that, Taverna. Very beautiful restaurant. Like we were walking around taking photos and videos and admiring the theme park view that's also visible from this restaurant. So it was aesthetically very, very gorgeous, very spacious, nice and comfortable. But the first meal we had was lunch. And they have two different menus. So there's a lunch menu and then also a dinner menu. The lunch menu was very limited, um, small bites for the most part. What we had was really good, though. I think one of us had the chicken sliders, one of us had a margarita pizza that was on a ciabatta bread, so not your typical pizza crust. There was also hummus with pita bread that we had.
That
I think
didn't
there's
come until the
something
middle of the
else.
meal, though, when we
This
ordered
is
that as an
true. That was
appetizer.
our appetizer, but it was more of our dessert before it was over with. But there's something else I'm missing that we had. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, there was a burger. Allison had the burger.
Allison had the burger. Yes. So everything was good. I mean, really, our food was really good. We were satisfied. The service was a little slower than we wanted it to be. And like Sammy said, our appetizer came way after we began our entrees. So that part was a little disappointing. The food was good. It really was. We were satisfied when we left there, but a little more variety would have been nice. The cocktail menu was really big. There was a large
Yeah.
variety, cocktails and beers, also spritzes that were available, but the food options were very limited as far as lunch was concerned.
And then at dinner, it got even more limited. Like
It,
dinner was like rough.
Such a small menu. I was shocked.
and not only a small menu, when we got our food, the portions were small. Like the
Hmm.
portions were very small. And the waitress had actually told Allison, who was ordering, it was a tuna dish, an
Yeah.
ahi tuna dish. She was
Hmm.
like, that's kind of a small portion. And Allison was like, oh, well, thinking to herself, it can't be that small. Like, I'm not starving to death. Literally the smallest thing ever. Well, I
It was
mean,
so
Right.
little. Like
probably,
non-existent.
probably like three pieces of tuna about the size of one's like thumb.
Yeah, they were
I
Yeah.
mean,
tiny.
not exaggerating at all. Very tiny pieces of tuna. And for what we paid for the food at dinner, we definitely left there wanting more. We were
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that we were still a little hungry when we left.
Yeah, I had that shrimp skewer and I was really excited just to kind of way it was listed. And it literally came out. They were giant shrimps, like giant prawns, but that's all it was. It was literally three prawns on a skewer and a little side of like potatoes slash fries, kind of. They were delicious, but it was like $45, I think, or something. It was just
Too
mind-boggling.
much. And then Allison was trying to make up for her lack of ahi tuna, and she ordered French fries and never got those.
Oh
But
yeah,
they
and
were
they
on
were
the bill.
$14.
They were on the bill, $14 French
$14.
fries, but she never got them. That was also discouraging. So we were kind of like, here, have this and have that, making sure she didn't leave starving to death. I guess my meal was probably the most substantial.
Mine
And
was pretty good too.
yeah, what
You had
was
the
yours? The
pasta, right?
burger?
I had the pesto
Oh, the
pasta dish.
It
pasta.
did look
It was
good.
like that
That
prosecco cream pesto. I liked my food.
that was pretty good. I had to have a bite of that as well. Yeah, yours was good, and yours was filling.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So mine was an appetizer on the menu, but it was calamari and shrimp and
It was big for an appetizer.
yeah, it was like three
Surprisingly.
different things, and it was a lot of food. I was really surprised at how much food mine was to be an appetizer, especially compared to the ahi tuna. That was nothing, essentially.
Right. And
Can
I
we
had
talk
the
about the Caesar dressing?
Yeah, I was gonna say I had the Caesar salad, which is usually a win for me. I will eat that. It came with what I'm convinced was Caesar mayonnaise, not dressing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It was like wicked thick and
Yeah.
awful. Um, and I did ask for other dressing. They did bring some to me, like a different kind. I can't remember anymore what it was, but the whole thing was, I don't know, just was like at that point I was like, I'm done. So when we wrapped up, finally, we had to wait forever for them to have the check fixed, to take those fries off that never came, like all of that. I ended up going over to the market next door and getting chips and then a little like box of like snack things like cheese cubes and stuff to go with it because I was starving. There was no option to put chicken on the Caesar salad, which is, I mean, totally unusual.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually you can put chicken, shrimp, something on there.
Right, there was no protein. There was like a little bit of that pancetta, which I'm a picky eater and I didn't even know what that was, so you guys helped me out figure that out. But
It's
yeah,
good.
it was such a and the bill was so expensive. I was totally turned off. I will say I do think that one of the biggest problems was it was the first night that they were open, right? So that's going to be a
Right.
problem. But also there were bloggers sitting at the table next to us and they were
Yeah.
getting all of the attention and
Yes.
see the servers like whispering to the managers and stuff. And I was like, wanted to be like, hi, we have a podcast too. Like, we're not like just sitting here, but also it was just kind of, oh, I don't know, left a weird taste in my mouth for that.
Yeah, I sat for
Right.
a while with no water. Like I just kept making the gesture as they were walking by with the water pitcher and they skipped our table and went to the blogger's table. I'm like, "Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I know we went back, Shalon and Allison and I went back for lunch the next day. We
Oh,
sat
good.
outside. That was great. Service was good. The waiter
Hmm.
asked if we were shoppers, and I kind of chuckled, like, we wouldn't say yes if we were. Like, that's such an odd question. But the food was great. The service was fine. And then on the
Yeah.
last morning, Allison and I had breakfast there. Because we were all in because there's not really many options. Um,
Right.
and I did the breakfast buffet and it was very good. Everything was really fresh. And she got a yogurt parfait thing. And that was really good too. So there were some wins. Dinner was not
Yeah.
it, but
Definitely not dinner, especially not for the price that you pay for that experience.
And you mentioned earlier after dinner we went over to the market. So also in the lobby is the Aurora Market. And I feel like while it was okay, it still left a lot to be desired for a hotel of this caliber. So when you go in there, there was just like a small bar area where in the morning they have like Starbucks and stuff. And then we went and got like sandwiches for breakfast, which those were good. You can kind of heat them up. Although our sandwiches were a little cold in the middle that we got for breakfast one day. So that was a little disappointing, but they had grab and go sandwiches, like cold sandwiches, um, trays with like nuts and eggs and cheeses and things like that. Tons of drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And they also had some gelato, which was a fun little mishap when we were first there because they were still figuring out, I think, their menu board. And said by the end we left the trip, the gelato said small or large, which makes more sense. But when we were ordering it, it said single or double, and there was a whole lot of confusion about that. But I won't go into that. But they fixed it pretty quick because it is a digital menu board. But the thing that I really loved at that market was their desserts. They were really good. They were a little expensive. Like their signature like desserts were around like $14 a piece, I believe, but I felt like they were pretty substantial and filling and they were really good quality. So that was nice. And also in there, that's where they have the Coke Freestyle machine. So if you buy one of the resort refillable mugs, that's where you would go to fill that up throughout your stay. So it's pretty nice to have that right there, especially if you're going into the park and your mug doesn't work in the park per se, but you could come back to your room really quick, grab some drinks, coffee, whatever. That was nice. But overall, I feel like for a hotel of this size and caliber, I would have liked to have more quick service hot options because one night when the last night we were there, we couldn't get dinner reservations anywhere. We didn't want to eat at the same restaurant again. I went down and just had like a fruit and cheese tray for dinner and a hard-boiled egg because there really wasn't anything else that sounded appetizing. So I feel like that left a lot to be desired.
yeah, and I gotta say too, we Allison has a gluten allergy, and Aurora Market had the only thing in the entire place that she could eat was Cheerios. Like no desserts. Oh, she could have the gelato too. So she could have the gelato or Cheerios. And they didn't even have milk. Like, you know, at Disney, you can go to the quick service and you get like little cartons of milk. They didn't even have that. So I asked for milk and they said, oh no, we don't have any. And then I realized they had skim milk out for the coffee. So I just filled her cup of Cheerios with the skim milk from the
I didn't
coffee.
even notice they didn't have milk. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
That's
And
wild.
right? I was like, well, you have all these cereal buckets. Like, what were you doing with them? And the girl looked at me and she's like, I don't really know.
Oh
Now,
wow.
again, it was brand new. I don't know who didn't think that you would need milk with your cereal, but nobody apparently did.
Was it
That's
the
the kind
girl
of
that
stuff.
told me my coffee order wasn't normal?
I don't know because I wasn't with you, but tell that story because that was so funny.
So I am a caffeine fueled mama. That is not a secret when it comes to who Sammy Faye is. And I asked for 2 shots of espresso in a venti cup because it's a Starbucks. Yes, I know the sizes send people sideways. I'm sorry, that's what it's called. It's venti. And I asked for it iced because I was pouring a protein shake into it. And she looked at me and she goes, just 2 shots of espresso iced? I go, yep. And she goes, is that normal? I was like, well, for me it is. Like, yeah. She just, you just charged me for my coffee.
We listen and we don't judge.
Amen.
That was probably the same girl who had no idea what flavor the gelatos were,
Or how to scoop them with single
or
and
what was a
double.
single and a double.
Single means two, double means three.
It was so funny though because she was like, I think this one is probably this flavor, but it might be this. Do you want to try it? Because I'm not 100% sure. I'm like, where are the little tags that you
Right.
see in ice cream that
Yeah, they had
say,
none of
here's
those.
what, yeah, they were not labeled at all. And apparently, I mean, it was day one, so the workers weren't as familiar with them as they would be eventually. So that was interesting. But the gelato was yummy.
I'm glad I tried the baklava flavor though and didn't go all in because it was not good. It was like rose flavored baklava
That
and it
was
just tasted like
stressful.
I was eating flowers or perfume. I was like, oh, that's not
Oh,
good.
It
Must
was
be
stressful.
baklava from somewhere other than where we've had baklava before.
right. And
The
I
key
will
lime
say,
tart, though, was good. That was
was it?
tasty. I loved that. That was really good.
I do want to say too, because I think that the people that were working in the Aurora market, especially, they were just people that were there trying to do their job. I felt like it was more of a management issue, like the food and beverage management that
Hmm.
didn't set them up for success. Like it's
Right.
not a lot to think about putting tags in front of gelato so people know what flavors they are. Somebody didn't think about the fact that we live in a world where people have allergies. So
Right.
you might want to have things that don't have gluten or that have no peanuts or I mean they didn't know anything about any of that and that's a failure I think on the management not necessarily the frontline workers that were there.
Right. I don't think they were informed as well as they should have been prior to being bombarded with that many people
Hmm.
at one time.
Yeah, because
That
they
alone
went
is
from being
overwhelming.
yeah they went from being not open to completely sold out, so like
Right.
there was no like slow transition for them either, so that would be challenging for anybody.
So after all that, we made our way up to something that was supposedly booked out 3 months. Bar Helios. This bar is so cool. It's on the 10th floor. And if you're going in the near future, have no fear if they say they're sold out. Talk to the people at the desk. Maybe you can get in. We were able to put our name on a wait list. They said about 30 minutes potentially if they could sneak us in. They were able to sneak us in by some miracle. And then we got upstairs and saw there was 5 tables in the whole bar. But I think they were trying to do a soft open, and I do understand why. When you look at this bar, it is definitely a elevated, classier experience than you would get at a normal tavern down the road from your house. They had just the most amazing decor, the best view. I mean, talk about feeling like you're in the park. When you go out onto the balcony of this bar, you feel like you're in the park, you're immersed. The music is fantastic, it's beautiful. The view of the fountain, you can see all the rides. Like it was a 10 out of 10 on the view. Even the whole vibe of the place, like I was like, "Ooh, this is definitely a little too classy for me," but I felt at ease. It was peaceful, it was relaxing. Our server, Damien, was just so sweet. He almost too cautious to not want to interrupt us. You could tell that like it was opening day in the sense that like we were kind of ready to check out for a little while, but anytime he saw us talking, he didn't want to interrupt, which I think is super courteous, but that poor man's got to turn a table and his tables are going to sit there for a while if he waits long. But he was really great. The food, again, more of an elevated experience. So they had things like Wagyu sliders, charred octopus, confit pork belly. They also had raw bar options, which for someone like me that likes oysters and shimichi, things like that, I thought that was really cool. But I love a good cocktail. The drinks were a little nerve-wracking for me. I had to stick with something that seemed safe where I could pronounce everything in the description and didn't cost over $20 because majority of the drinks were over 20 bucks, which I think is a little steep. But I got the Mount Olympus and it had Hendrick's gin, Saint Germain, lemon, a lavender cordial, lime juice, and Ferrari brute, and it was 9 out of 10. The only reason it loses a point was it was $19.
Hmm.
And I
Sounds
could make
amazing.
that at home and keep all of the bottles for $19. So, but it was really good. I think their menu was fun and they had an interactive dessert. And for someone like me with my ADHD and I get kind of like thrown off track very quickly, that cart rolled by us and I completely left the conversation and I was like, what's that? Can I get that? I want that. But it was cool. I mean, to have an interactive dessert, I think kind of sets the tone for what they're looking for. We didn't eat any of the food because we had just had lunch, but it looked good.
Hmm.
We really considered that interactive dessert though, until we looked on the menu and it was 50, $54.
It's
Is that right?
$32.
32. I don't know where that
32 for
54.
a bread pudding with like a cardamom gelato, which I'm like, I don't like any of those things, but I just want to have the experience and whatever is interact. And you got a rose. That's kind of cool.
It was really cool
And I will
looking.
say, like you mentioned, Damien, like I think he was one of the highlights for sure of the trip in terms of like the server, and he was very attentive. But yeah, like we had to like stop talking. We saw him coming. Finally, we just all stopped talking, so he would come over because he didn't want to bother us.
He had a
But
great
yeah,
accent too.
he did.
His
He
accent
did.
was awesome.
Yeah.
And he was very informed as far as the menu, like any questions that we had. He knew exactly what was in each drink and was very, very, very informed compared to some of the other restaurants that we had experienced where they seemed a little less prepared.
I got a mocktail and I cannot remember what was in there, but there was ginger beer and then some other things, and it was $14. It was very good, but also I was kind of like, whoa, like that was pricey for that. And I didn't even think to check because I was like, oh, I'll just get a mocktail. But it was good. I didn't mind as bad as I could have.
It almost feels like at Bar Helios, you're paying for the experience and the view, in addition to the drinks and the food,
And the
because it is such a
exclusivity.
cool experience. It is very, very exclusive.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
We were special.
And we did
But
try to get
it
in the
was
night.
beautiful up there.
We
It
tried to
really
get
was.
in the next night, like when it was just Shalon, Allison, and I, and we never got a table. It was booked solid all night. And I really wanted to like go up there to check it out and see what booked looked like. But I can
We were too
respect the
tired.
fact, right, exactly. We just watched the bloggers watched ourselves on the bloggers videos for a while and then went to bed.
I did find it interesting though that the bar itself, not the tables, were not self-seated, that those were also part of the reservation, which is not typical. Like typically, like if a bar seat gets up, you can just go into it. It's first come, first serve, but not there. So if you think that that's going to be like your game to try and do that, it's part of the reservation system. So you can't be that quick.
You can get drinks though out at the Lotus Lagoon, which is their pool bar. And they have a full menu of food and then drinks, frozen cocktails, beer, wine, all of that. They do a really good job of like coming to your chair so you don't have to even get up to go over there. We got pina colada. I forget what Shalon. Oh, you got the champagne with the popsicle, right?
Pickle. It was delicious, like strawberry basil popsicle.
Yeah,
Mm.
that looked great. Allison got a Corona Sunrise. The only problem I will say out there is they came by several times to check on us, but then when we were ready to pay the bill and leave, it was like she was gone. I don't know if
Yeah.
she retired or, you know, we did see her in the distance. We waved to her. She kind of kept going. Shalon finally had to like go over to the bar to pay. Um, but the drinks were great. I thought the pricing seemed fair, right? Like it certainly was not like your neighborhood bar, but
It's theme park prices. That's what I expected, but it was good.
yeah. All right, ladies, let's think about the things that we've just said about Helios Grand Hotel. And on a scale of 1 to 5, where would you place the overall experience?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm going to say the hotel itself is a 3.5. And here's why. The reason it's like kind of up and not, 3 or 2.5 is the pool. I felt like I was at a all-inclusive resort at that pool. It was beautiful. I thought that the entrance to Epic Universe was amazing. So just having that private entrance was super convenient. I think the restaurants have potential. I think they just need to be open a little bit longer. The ranking still stands because they need a better quick service option that's like child friendly. Give me some French fries, some chicken tendies, a cheeseburger, something sustainable for all people.
Hmm.
And then I think the rooms are a little bit small compared to their other hotels, especially for the price. I think they could be a little bigger.
Yeah.
But I was comfortable. My meals were good, but I just can't see it being for everybody.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same vibes, like the same reasons why I don't give it a five. I was leaning more towards a four just because having that entrance to Epic and being able to walk back to your room every day if you wanted to take a break or whatever, that's just like chef's kiss. And those views are amazing. But yeah, the food could be better. The rooms could be larger for the price that you were paying for them. Even just like 50 square feet, I think would make a massive difference in some of those rooms. And of course, no express pass. I think that's a whole nother thing because I think it's a deal that they made with Lowe's many years ago when they opened the other three hotels that get it. And I don't honestly think Helios will ever get it, kind of like Sapphire Falls. I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
I had the same exact opinions. I was kind of leaning towards more towards a four as well, just because walking back from the park at night when your feet are just tired and your body is feels like just sitting down, it's so close. I mean, it is right there. You really feel like when you're in the hotel that you are inside of that theme park. It's a quick walk. It's a nice walk and it's just convenient. Rather than having to get on a bus and go to a different hotel, that theme park entrance really does make it a four, in my opinion. And that theme park view from the rooms too. All other things aside, those two things really helped my feelings a lot as far as the vibe that was being given off by the hotel as a whole.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a 4 for the same reasons. To me, I don't like the buses, and knowing that I didn't have to ride a bus, because we never left the Epic universe. We stayed right there. So I think for me, that was a big plus. If we were doing a different kind of trip, I think I would probably do a split stay and stay on the other campus and get the express pass for the other two parks and then come over there. But the idea of that private entrance was so helpful. Even though it was busy in the morning, it moved pretty quickly. And then you were like right in the park. Other people that are coming through the entrance have to make their whole way, where we were like at Ministry of Magic in seconds. We went over to Super Nintendo World just slightly longer. So to me, that's good. I was really bothered by the service. We had some things. We're still waiting some resolution for some things. Um, so that kind of was a downer, but I did find the management to be pretty responsive. So I felt like that was pretty good too. All right, we're gonna put the hotel aside because that is one big piece of this, but Epic Universe as the theme park, I am ready to go back into that. Like if I could just jump into a magical portal right from New Hampshire and slide right into one of those lands, I would. But let's start with kind of like the entry point, I guess, Celestial Park.
Yeah, so Celestial Park is kind of the main focus, whether you're coming in from Helios Hotel or from the front of the park through the main Kronos. It is absolutely stunning. So the way the park's laid out, kind of like the whole theme park model, right? The spoken hub deal. But this time, I feel like they did an amazing job because it's literally just one giant circle and all the lands are scattered around it, which means everything is completely immersive in its own right. You don't have like line of sight into Celestial or the other parks when you're in the other portals. But in Celestial, they do have a few attractions, which was nice. I'll start off with the favorite of mine personally was Stardust Racers. And if you've seen any of like the videos or teaser pictures, this was the dueling roller coaster that they put in. And if you have been a longtime Universal fan, you probably remember Dueling Dragons, which was an amazing roller coaster. And my heart broke when they got rid of that many years ago. So I was very excited to see this attraction being built, and it was absolutely plussed up. If you've done Velocicoaster, this one is a notch above it, in my opinion, as far as intensity goes, but it's also smoother, which was really nice. And the way it operates is there's two sides, there's a green and a yellow side, and they do have different layout of the track. They do mimic each other in some spots, but then they go off and kind of do their own thing in others. There are times when those cars are passing where one's doing a barrel roll and the other was just kind of going through, and you look up and you see the other people in his cars. And I'm convinced that if you both had maybe like a tall basketball player on each of those cars and they had their hands out, they could probably high five each other. I mean, they tell you absolutely keep your hands and arms and set right at all times for a good reason. It is just mind-boggling. And then if you can ride it at daytime and nighttime, it is just a whole different vibe. It feels even faster, I felt like, at night with all the lights and the sounds and stuff. So, absolutely must do. You do have to put stuff in a locker there, and the lockers are free when you do have to put your belongings in them. And the great thing about Epic now is their lockers are all a little bit bigger, which is nice. If you've ever visited Universal before, their free lockers are really small. So they kind of increase the size. And they've also gone to a facial recognition system, which was great. So you don't have to worry about keeping your park ticket on you for opening the lockers or like in a lanyard underneath your shirt or something. So you just use a facial recognition and it made it so much faster. The other attraction really in this area was the Constellation Carousel, and it was absolutely stunning. Day or night, it's a beautiful carousel, and it's a very different vibe because it's not your traditional just goes in a circle. It's just, couple three layers of horses or something. They're all creatures based off of constellations, obviously. But there's one big turntable, and then with inside that, I think there was three, maybe four smaller turntables. So as the whole thing rotates, these smaller ones also rotate. And sometimes you're going backwards because of it. But it is a nice, slow, leisurely pace, which is good. It's not fast. And the music was very like ethereal feeling sometimes. And especially at night, they had the lights playing. And the other cool thing was some of them could hold two people. So if you had a kid with you, or even I saw a couple with two adults, I'm not sure if it's meant for two adults, but they did have that option. And then they do have the ones where if you don't want to climb up on a creature, you can get into a bench area. So it's more accessible for everybody. And then I didn't see it operating. I don't know if any of you three saw that while we were there, but Astronomica, which was the interactive water play area, I completely passed it by and didn't even realize it until I went back and looked at my pictures. I'm like, oh yeah, we saw it. It just wasn't working. So that's probably why it didn't register. But given that there is little to no shade in this theme park, that will be a good place for little ones or maybe even adults to cool off in the middle of the summer once that is operating. So I think it's a definite must do. And then also in Celestial Park is where you're going to find a lot of the dining as well. Each of the portals has their own dining, but there was quite a bit throughout. And I'll just kind of touch on a few of these. We only tried one of them, unfortunately, because we just didn't have enough time. You need about a week, honestly, I think, in
Right.
Epic to try all the food and stuff. Um, they have the Blue Dragon Pan Asian restaurant, which is going to be full service, and it is opening very soon. And then the rest of these that I'm going to talk about, Oak and Star Taverns, barbecue, quick service, Pizza Moon. I know a lot of people are really excited about that one. We didn't get to try it.
I did go.
Star,
I got
did
it.
you get it? Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't see that. So was it good?
it was really good. I'm a big pizza snob. I was pleasantly surprised.
Good.
Did you get the one with the barbecue sauce and the chips?
The space cowboy. Yes, I
Space Cowboy.
didn't read fully that there were green olives on it, so I had to pick those off. But the pizza with the chicken and the chips and the barbecue sauce, it was so good.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
awesome. I don't know how I missed that, that you must have devoured it and I didn't even see it
No, I ran. You
back in
guys
the
were
room.
still on Stardust Racers. Remember? Because I jumped in the fast pass line. I was like, because I
That's
need my
right.
pizza. I had my priorities.
Uh-huh.
It's a good priority.
You
Um,
weren't going to be there for my funeral when I died on that Stardust Racers. I still am having nightmares about that.
it was
Oh.
crazy. There's a few other small places, but we ate at the only full service restaurant that was open, which is called the Atlantic. And I think this place was absolutely incredible. It's right in the middle of the park, right against the water. And so the whole like window area is like floor to ceiling, like 3 stories, floor to ceiling glass. And we had a dinner reservation right around sunset, which I think was perfection. If you could get one around that time. And it's very seafood heavy, but they had other menu items. I know we all kind of had a good variety of foods. And it was expensive too, just like inside Helios, but I felt like it was much more food for the money that we paid. And it was delicious, and the servers were on point. I felt like when we were there that day, I know you
Mhm.
guys all had some amazing food. I keep looking back at the pictures. I'm like, I'm dreaming of that crab cake I had and the lobster roll. So good.
Yeah, my cheeseburger, they didn't have American cheese. So I had Asiago cheese on a cheeseburger. I don't know if you guys have ever had that, but that's weird. And but the burger was really good. I should have just skipped the cheese. But the drink I
You-
had, which I cannot remember the name of it now, but
Northern Lights.
Northern Lights, thank you.
Yeah.
That was good
Oh,
because you got
so
that
good.
too. And it was beautiful.
So, so good. I ended up getting the salmon, and that was at first I was like a little nervous because the edge of it was a little dry, but the second I like got deeper into the salmon, it was so good. I ate the whole entire thing. I texted Ryan. I was like, "This is the best meal I've had in so long."
That was really good. I was pleasantly surprised. And then just to round out the rest of Celestial Park is shopping. At the very front of the park, they have on both sides of the entrance, there's some pretty large stores. So you can pretty much find something from all the lands there. It seemed like they had probably 90% of what you could find in the portal lands in that shop. There was a few items here and there that I noticed were only in the lands. So that was kind of nice if you didn't want to have to run back to get things. They had a Starbucks up front, which is, definitely a key to have. And they had the little chocolate shop with Captain Cacao, which is their a try at a unique character, which was a teddy bear or a bear, and he had like a little star on his face. I don't know. If you go in there, ask the team members the story. They gave us like a backstory when we were in there. I cannot for the life of me remember right now. I think we were recording, so I have to go back and look at the video. But it was very cute. They had a lot of good desserts in there.
Yeah, the shopping I felt like at Epic was on point for sure. Like I feel like they had a lot of good merch. It wasn't just the same old, same old. There was definitely a good
Mhm.
variety of stuff. I know I left with a few things that I probably didn't need, but that's okay.
It's memories.
Hmm.
And after leaving Celestial Park, if you were entering into Epic Universe from Helios Grand, the first portal that you actually come to that's kind of off the hub is Dark Universe. So we didn't really know what to expect walking into these portals for the first time, but it was really more than I imagined that it was going to be. So you walk in, everything's lit up, and it's almost like the portals kind of spinning, like it's taking you from this celestial park area into this whole nother land. So as you get through and you're walking through the portal, about halfway through, the scenery starts to change. So in Dark Universe, for example, there's stones where the buildings are going to turn into stone, like be stone buildings, and then the old creaky kind of dilapidated wood look is also inside the portal before it opens up into what is Dark Universe. So Dark Universe has this whole lore behind it, but it's essentially a town called Darkmoor where all of the classic Universal monsters reside. So it's the home of Frankenstein and Dracula, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Wolfman, Invisible Man, the Bride of Frankenstein. All of these characters are present and living in Darkmoor. Um, the vibe was very eerie, spooky. There were fog effects and lots of sound effects. You could hear monsters growling around you, and occasionally everything would start flashing, and the noises got kind of loud, like there was a fight, like an argument going on amongst these monsters. And at one point in time, Shalon and I were speaking with a team member who was working at a store, and she was telling us that what was happening was they were fighting. And she said that that happened all the time. And she said that's what those noises are. They fight all the time. Like no one can get along here. The personalities are just too big and everybody just fights. And she pointed off to her right something that we had not even noticed. We walked right under it, but half of the bridge in Dartmoor was gone. And she said, we're even having to rebuild our bridge. Like they tore down the bridge, the only bridge in the city. They tore it down. They just destroy everything. So it was kind of cool walking around and talking to the different shopkeepers, and they were just continuing with the lore. They were just building constantly on what was happening around us. When everything would start rattling, you would see the team members like covering their heads and ducking like they were taking cover, trying to hide from the monsters, whatever their arguments were at the moment. But there were characters roaming, which was really cool. You don't see that sometimes in theme parks anymore. So the Invisible Man, we saw him multiple times. He was out and about, kind of interacting with guests and roasting them, you might
Gosh,
say.
I want to stay far away from him. I can't handle getting roasted.
He was really roasting this one kid, a teenage boy, which he was giving it right back to him, but it was pretty funny. And at one point in time, we had gotten separated, and I was in Dark Universe by myself at night, and um, I saw a team member, and she just kind of like peeked out and took a glance around at one of the character meet and greet areas, and I thought, I bet there's someone in there. So I just walked in, and it was the Invisible Man. And I told her, she said, do you want to come meet him? And I said, well, I was hoping that it was Frankenstein's monster. It's okay. And she was like, no, come see him. There's no line. And I was sitting there thinking, like, oh my gosh, he's going to roast me from when, like, I'm just up and down. I'm the only person here. Such an easy target. He did not, though. I walked in, and he said, what are you doing here? Or something like that. And I said, well, I'm kind of shocked because I can see you. And she told me that you were invisible. And he said, oh, my poor dear, you're so simple. It's it's only bandages
Oh,
and a
gross.
suit, obviously. And I said, well, you look very dapper. And we took a photo together. That was so he didn't get me too badly, but I was worried. Um, but we did get to have a really cool interaction with the Bride of Frankenstein.
Hmm.
That
That was
was
awesome.
really, really fun. She was great. That
She
was
was
probably one of the best
amazing.
character interactions I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like Chrissy started out the conversation with a comment about her hair because it stands straight up and it's black and white. And she said, I love your hair. And she was like, this is the way it was made. So she proceeded to tell us how she was made in a lab by Dr. Frankenstein and his assistant, and how she was made from dead people, and but now she's alive just like us. And I mean, she was fabulous. Then she kind of told us about the lore of Dartmoor as well, with Victoria Frankenstein being Dr. Frankenstein's great great granddaughter, and she's come back and she's trying to be this amazing scientist, and she lives in Dr. Frankenstein's manor, and all of her experiments are wreaking havoc on Dartmoor because she's taking all of their electricity, and um she claims she's doing good, but she's really not. And she didn't seem to be a fan of Victoria Frankenstein at all. She actually warned us to stay away from her castle, from the manor, which we did not, because the manor is home to the iconic ride in Monsters Universe or Dark Universe, which is called Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experience. So this ride, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but very technologically advanced, very cool, things I've never seen before. And I didn't really know where to look. It was a lot. I wanted to ride it over and over again so that I could take in like different things slowly because it was just so much. I didn't really know where to focus my eye, but those animatronics were amazing.
I
Very,
was
very
happy it
cool.
wasn't scary. Because I'm a big
Right.
old chicken, and I was going into it thinking it's going to be like Halloween Horror Nights, but an attraction, and it was not. So for people who are worried about that going in, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
jump scares, so it's fine.
Right. You see, I mean, they're not jumping in your face and,
Mm-mm.
coming
No,
around the
I was
corners.
good. I was
They're
terrified at first.
huge and they're very realistic, but they're
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's definitely not scary. I have heard a lot of people say that though, being concerned about it. This ride was similar to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey as far as the ride model itself. It was different. It moved differently, but it was kind of similar to that same ride system. If you're familiar with that, lockers were required, but again, very easy to access with the facial recognition and them being two-sided also. And I'm really thankful that Universal has finally started doing this with some of their rides, putting the lockers in the middle of the queue instead of at the beginning. So, like Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, for instance, I mean, you're without your things for the entirety. You're not even allowed to get in the queue until your things are put in a locker. So it is nice that they're giving you that flexibility, putting them in the middle of the queues now. The last thing that really, really stood out to us about Dark Universe was the food. I was very, very impressed with the food that we had in Dark Universe. So we had lunch at Das Steakhouse, which is the only sit down quick service restaurant in this land. And it's themed after a vampire hangout. So this is where all your cool vampires come and they're hanging out and the attendants at the door are like urging you to come in. They're like, come, let's feast. And we can all feast. And we were kind of like, should we be worried? And they're like, oh no, there's nothing to be worried about. Oh,
Please eat it
just
all.
like just really feeding into the lore. They were trying to feed us to the vampires, is what they were doing. But once we got inside, of course, there were vampire references and pictures and things like that, but it wasn't scary at all. Just a neat, dark, and cool environment in there. And the food. The food was impressive. The menu was really broad. A lot of things were themed around steaks, like the vampire steak. So you had like meatloaf on a steak and chicken on a steak and different meats on a steak. They all came served with vegetables, potatoes and squash. Really good, hearty food for a quick service restaurant, especially. So I actually ate off the kids menu at this restaurant because I wanted meatloaf on a steak and they didn't have it on the adult menu. So that came with grapes, meatloaf on a steak, which was a hearty portion, and it had a grape chili sauce on it, which gave a little sweetness and kind of balanced out that savory. It was really, really good. And French fries, delicious. Everything we had there was delicious. There were burgers and all kinds of different proteins. They were grilled, they were fried, they had a lot of variety. But overall, Dark Universe was really immersive.
Don't forget the werewolf, Curse of the Werewolf ride.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So
That
the
was
Curse of the
so
Werewolf
good.
is the other ride that's in Dark Universe. Um, Spinning coaster doesn't
So
spin.
cool.
I mean, it's not like an extreme spin, like going to make you vomit spinning, but it is kind of a slow spin. And the ride is kind of short. That was the only thing that disappointed me about it. Like it was over, and I thought, is that it? I was left wanting more. Like I wanted to go again.
And we
um,
did.
yeah, right. But it was really fun experience. I actually rode single rider on that one with another guy, and he had ridden before, and he was telling me that if your weight is off balance, that it helps you
Then you'll
spin more.
spin.
So he and
Yeah.
I spun pretty good compared to some of the other carts that were around us. Great views of the park, a fun little coaster, but I would call it a family coaster. Definitely nothing insane. A nice introduction coaster for those littles who are unsure
Yeah.
about the coaster experience.
I
Really
do
fun.
think Epic Universe did such a cool twist on something fun for like a makeup experience, though, like the Darkmoor monster makeup thing, because everybody knows what Bippity Boppity is at Disney. Like little girls turn into princes and little boys, or however they want to do it, turn into princes, princesses, whatever it may be. And then you have like your unhinged feral children that don't want to be a prince or a princess, like my Olivia. And she is so pumped to be turned into a monster at this thing, which I'm terrified for, but I'm like, all right, girl, whatever you want.
There were so many options in there too. Like you can be any monster you want to be.
We
Shalon and
saw
I
that
took a
little
peek in. It was so neat.
we saw that little girl that was she was what, like less than 2 and she had the Frankenstein makeup on. My gosh, she was
So
I
so
cute.
loved it.
cute. It was so
I did
sweet.
read somewhere, did not experience this firsthand when we were there. You cannot purchase alcoholic beverages if your face is painted like that because they
Mhm.
can't be for certain that you are the person on your identification. So keep that in mind. If
Yep.
you plan on
I
purchasing alcohol, can't have
think
that
it was
full
like
face.
more than 50%, I think, of your face covered. Because I saw a few
Right.
people who had just like an eye covered and like the rest was open, maybe like a scar on their cheek. So
Yeah, full
there's like
face
a,
though, you're out.
yeah,
'Cause they still wanted to get their drink on. So like, we'll do a little
right.
bit here. All right, ladies, this is killing me because I don't want to stop, but I also don't want our listeners to lose interest because we yapped along too long. So let's stop here and pick it up back in the next episode. And next time, we're going to talk about Super Nintendo World, Isle of Berk, which just might be some of our favorites, and the Ministry of Magic. We'll also be answering listener questions. So if you have one, feel free to text the show. Our text number is right there in the show notes. And until we meet again, please take a peek at our YouTube channel, which we are hoping to bring back to life. You'll find the link also in the show notes. And if you're ready to book your Universal Orlando vacation, you know we'd love to hear from you. You'll find contact information for each of us in the show notes and also over on the podcast page on Instagram, which is at Talk Travel to Me Pod. See you real soon, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Talk Travel to Me. We hope this episode cracked open inspiration for the treasures that await you at your next dream destination. If you love the show, please review, subscribe, and share it with a friend. At Mickey Guru Travel Company, we're your trusted guides for theme parks, cruises, resorts, and more. Visit our website at mickey guru.com to learn more and book your vacation today.